All right, welcome to a Sales Logic. It is Saturday morning, just shortly after 9 a.m. Eastern. Mark and I are back at home and ready for another discussion about sales and how you sell effectively in today's world. Good morning, Mark.
Good morning, good morning, good morning. And I got a little allergy problem this morning, so we're wearing the glasses, but hey, we'll get through it. It works. It works.
That's right. Well, we've got a really good show because we're going to talk about lessons from the road, things that we have been learning and working from this week. So we're going to give you some tips, really some cutting edge and innovative things that are happening in sales and business growth today. But Mark, has it been a good week for you?
Yes, it's been a good week. You know, we were both in Vegas at the NSA conference, not the group that spies on you, but the group that speaks. And it was good to do our show from there this past week. Put together a lot of business ideas, a lot of business strategies. We met as a mastermind group. And of course, we have the Sales Logic mastermind group. Hopefully we'll get a chance to talk about that a little bit more in today's show. But yeah, it was a good week. How about for you?
Yeah, it has been a busy week. I tell you, when this economy started to come back, it has really been coming back really, really strong. So got a lot on the plate. You and I were just talking about the fact that we're a little bit behind this week. So why don't we go ahead, pop the video, and get into today's show.
Prospect with integrity, we will get customers who have integrity. Integrity is the foundation from which everything is built on.
You better understand value. But at the end of the day, sales is a relationship business. It is a people business. It is an emotional business.
This is Sales Logic.
Yes, it is Sales Logic. And welcome again. I'm Meridith Elliott Powell. Welcome to our weekly show, one of my favorite topics to discuss on Saturday morning, sales and Sales Logic. I'm here with my co-host, Mark Hunter. Good morning, Mark.
Good morning. And yeah, we've got a great topic. We're going to be talking about lessons learned from road warriors, and specifically, when is it right to be back in person versus on Zoom? Because again, that's one of the big lessons people are really having to deal with right now.
Well, I think it is a challenge because there's a lot that goes into it. And how do you choose? How do you know the best way to talk to and engage with customers? And I think there's a lot of opportunity that's opened up with talking to our customers online. But let me tell you quickly how the show works, and then Mark's going to tell you exactly what's on tap for today. Every week we come to you at 9 o'clock Eastern on Saturday morning for our rapid fire 25 minutes to make us all more effective at sales. Every week we've got a really hot topic. Now, my favorite part of the show is when we take a question from you, our audience. We'd love you to be a part of the show. So if you have a question, go to saleslogicpodcast.com, simply enter it there or put it out there on social media with hashtag Sales Logic. We'll find it and we'll feature you right here. Every week we highlight a book, something we're reading and something we think you should be reading. And we finish off with a lightning round, those steps and strategies you can put into place immediately.
Well, yes, and we got a great question, and the question comes from Mary in Colorado Springs. We'll get to that in just a bit because we are talking road lessons, lessons from road warriors, and specifically in person versus Zoom. We got a great book. That book. And of course, lightning round. The lightning round, what I've learned in the first half of 2021. I know you and I compared notes earlier in the week on this, but it's really going to be interesting to share with everybody. So let's jump into it. Mary from Colorado Springs asks, how do you determine when it makes sense to make an in-person call versus sticking with Zoom?
Yeah, so that really is the question right now. How do you make an in-person call versus sticking with Zoom? I think one of the first things you need to do is to take your lead from your client. I was on a call with a client yesterday, and and they had actually called me about a virtual event. Now they're all getting together in person, and she said, would you, how would you want to present, and do you have experience doing these things online? And my response to her was, I'm fully vaccinated. And my second response was, what works for you? Would you like me to be there in person? Would you feel more comfortable if I was virtual? So I think taking your lead from your client is really important.
And I think it also comes back to a dollars and cents question. Is the travel time going to be worth it? Because I think we've all learned that since COVID, we spent a lot of time traveling that we didn't have to, whether it be across town to meet with a potential client, or to get on an airplane and fly halfway across the country, or all the way across the country to meet with a client. So there's a price value relationship. I think it still makes sense to get on a plane, to go meet somebody, even if for a short meeting, if the deal is big enough. But if it's not big enough, again, take your lead from the client.
Yeah, I also think about what stage you are in the sales process, right? I mean, I begin a lot of sales calls on Zoom or on some type of online platform. But as I get closer, and I feel like this is more at the 80% close rate, then if I have the opportunity to get in person, I take the opportunity to get in person.
See, now I might take the opposite approach there. If I got an 80% chance of closing, I'll jump on a plane if I can upsell them. In other words, get even more from them. But if I got this deal in the can, do I need to spend the time traveling? See, I might spend the time traveling up front if I know, this is a true prospect, but boy, there is some significant opportunity there. So I might say I'm going to invest in the travel time up front versus on the back end. Just a different strategy. Both are right. Both, it's you have to do what fits for you.
Yeah, I also think the fact that if you're going to do in-person selling, if you're going to jump on a plane or drive a few hours, you better hook some other sales calls on with it. It makes that travel time, worth it. And I think that we underestimate how important our time is when it comes to sales.
There's the old example that used to be done, 3 doors left, 3 doors right. When anytime you knock on one door, you always make sure that you go 3 doors left and 3 doors right. And the same strategy applies when you're getting on an airplane. So spot on with that. Yeah, very much so. Hey, we should jump into the topic because the topic really picks up on this. What are some of those lessons from road warriors? And, again, when is it right? How do we make Zoom? How do we make in-person versus online calls happen?
Yeah, I do want to call out one of our avid listeners here this morning says, tell us something about COVID sales strategies. I want you to get a little more, as Mark and I start off on this topic, get a little more detailed with us. If you get us a little more detailed, exactly what you're looking for, we will work it into this show. Mark, this probably goes without saying, but it's probably one of the biggest issues I see salespeople still making today. If you are going to have, if you're going to do an online sales call, if you're going to have people on video, get them on video. Make them turn their cameras on. That is so important. And the way that you do that is I always send a little agenda ahead of time. I'm so excited that we're going to be talking Wednesday morning at 10 a.m. Eastern. Here are a couple things that I've laid out for us to cover. Here are a couple of questions I'm going to ask. And I just wanted to make sure I'm going to have my camera on, you have your camera on, and we'll be finished, I promise, at 9:55 or 11:55 or something like that. Just giving them an understanding of what to expect.
The engagement level increases significantly when we have the cameras turned on, by all means, especially in a larger meeting. This is where things really start to break down. I can make an argument that I can make a phone call work if it's one-on-one. If I know the person and am engaged, but if I don't know that person, I'm going to do a Zoom meeting, a Teams meeting, something of that nature. But if it's 3, 4, 5, 6 people, adamant, do not do any kind of a conference call. No, it must be with video and video on with everybody. And you have to be deliberate, you as the salesperson, calling people out during that meeting to get people involved, because otherwise it's very easy for people to start checking out. Because I don't know if you've noticed, I have seen this in larger meetings. Initially, at the beginning of COVID, at the beginning of the pandemic, people be on the camera and they'd be fixated. Now I'm seeing people, they may be on the camera, but you can tell they're typing. You can tell they're doing other stuff. And we've got to call people out. We have to keep people engaged.
Yeah, I think Adam is making such a great point. He said, at this point, we are still restricted by both my company and the client institutions. Unless it's business critical, they have to do it virtually. Adam, I hear you. I'm dealing with a number of large corporations that I work with right now, and they're still on travel and in-person restriction. Not only will they not travel to me, they don't want me traveling to them. So again, it's really, really important that you empathize with where the client is. And I'm just specific. I ask, and I always let people know I am happy to do it any way you want to do it. I am happy to be there in person. I am very comfortable, and I am experienced doing this online. So letting them know that they're going to drive the boat on that. And kind of in picking up with what Mark said, is that if you're going to do something in a virtual environment, you need to understand that needs to be really, I think, more well thought out and more planned than if you're going to be there in person. You have some luxuries of body language when you're there in person. You have that in-person connection and a little bit more time for rapport. But when people get on a virtual call, they want to basically get to work. I mean, they probably have another call scheduled right after you. So you may have, one or two questions to establish a little bit rapport. You need to think how you're going to do that. And then you really need to have a plan for that call and a way that you're going to move through it. Confidence really comes across in a virtual call, and you need to look like you are in control, that you know what you're doing, and you have a plan and a strategy of how to get to the end game.
There's two pieces that you brought up there that are so critical, and that first one is brevity. Virtual meetings are always going to be shorter, so you got to be much tighter with your agenda, which means, as you said up front, if you've got something you want them to review or something like that, you've got to send that to them, or we'll say it's something you want to talk about during the meeting. You need to send that to them a few minutes ahead of the meeting. Now, I'm not a big fan of sending it a day or two ahead of time. Why? Because sometimes they'll look at it and say, I don't need to meet. But I want to send it just a few minutes ahead of the meeting, and I want to tell them in the note, hey, make sure you have this open when we talk about it, and or you can share your screen. There's something magical, and this, again, is a little bit of you have to go with what style works for you. I'm not a big fan of sharing my screen. Now, here's why. When I share my screen, what'll happen is the people are no longer visible. They're a little bit, now they go down to that little side box if I'm on Teams or something of that nature. And I find less engagement. So what I'll say is, hey, I just sent you that document. Open it up there on your other screen. Let's stay focused here on the screen. So you literally call them out and tell them what you want them to do to keep them engaged in the conversation.
Mark, we're getting some really great questions about this topic. And I just want to mention that Mark and I are doing a mastermind beginning on July 26th. It's a 6-month mastermind of how to close out the year really strong, about how to exceed your sales goals in 2021 and kick off strong for 2022. We're going to meet monthly. We're going to talk about subjects like this and deep dive into them. We're going to have accountability and support. We're going to push you past your sales goals, and you're not going to believe that it is only $197 for all 6 months. Mark and I are kind of doing this as an intro to some other projects that we've got going. So if you are interested in topics like this, just go to our website, which is saleslogicpodcast.com, just saleslogicpodcast.com, and you'll find a button at the top for Mastermind. Simple little thing that you fill out, and you would love to have us. We would love to have you join us. But Marcia is basically writing back in is how do you connect with a prospect who's not in the office? We don't have cell numbers. Wow, Marcia, what a great question. I just got asked this the other day on a podcast, and I'll tell you how I do it. If it's a prospect that I don't have an introduction too. I mean, it's a cold outreach for me. Typically, the way that that I reach out to them is via email, but how that email is crafted is so important. I use social proof. I let them know I've been working a lot in their industry, that and I'll name a client that I've been working with in that industry, somebody that they would recognize. Like right now, I'm working a lot in construction, and I've been using Doosan Bobcat because I work a lot. I've done a lot of work for Doosan Bobcat, and basically, I'll say, here are some of the problems that we have uncovered, some of the challenges and some of the opportunities. These are the things that we've been focused on. I'll use a testimonial from my client. I'll share something of value that helps them solve one of those challenges. If you'd be interested in learning more, if you'd be interested in finding out more, I'd love to set up a call, and I give them a link to my calendar invite. But what that does is I'm using the only contact information that I've got. I'm using social proof to say, hey, I have experience in your industry. Here's somebody you recognize. I'm using the fact that I understand their problems and challenges, so it would be worth their time to talk to me. And then I go ahead and give them basically a bonus so they can see the value that I bring to the marketplace.
See, what you're doing is you're using referral, you're using authoritative, and you're using an engagement statement. You're using three approaches there in one, which is so vital. Here's the whole thing. You may not know who you're reaching out to. And there's a lot of tools out there. We have a good friend, Sam Richter, who's got the Intel engine, which is absolutely terrific. There's a number of other tools out there. Don't ever think for a moment that you can't get somebody's email or somebody's phone call or somebody's phone number. They're available out there. You just have to do a little probing and a little searching. I'll always do this approach. If I'm prospecting somebody, and again, this is kind of post-COVID, I might send them an email, and within an hour or two later, I'm going to call them. Because again, things are moving at the speed of light right now, and I got to move quickly. And I'm going to repeat that process 3 or 4 times, each one with a different message, each one with a different. Anyway, we're kind of running down a different road in terms of prospecting. I get wound up on that. But I think what you're getting the drift of is the fact that it's all about the prospect. It's all about that potential person that you want to connect with. Because what you want to do is you want to get them into this type of a situation where you're on video with them. That's what this world is all about. And of course, that's kind of one of the things we'll be talking about in the mastermind. And yeah, I really do encourage people to jump out to saleslogicpodcast.com because they can get registered right now for that. Hey, time is slipping away. We need to jump into the book. And there's really one book that really talks about virtual selling. It's called Virtual Selling by Jeb Blunt. I don't happen to have my copy with me because I have a Kindle copy. I actually have a hard copy, but I wasn't able to find it fast enough for today's show. But Virtual Selling by Jeb Blunt. There's a number of virtual books out there, or books on virtual selling, but there's only one called Virtual Selling. He breaks down in there tremendous number of strategies and ideas, shares with you a number of different tools that you can get access to. He evaluates various types of programs. So I think it's an excellent book. I don't know if you've had a chance to read it.
I haven't had a chance to dive into that one yet, but I got to tell you, I've read a lot of Jeb's other books and know that everything he puts out there is fabulous. Michelle, thanks so much. We are excited to have you in the mastermind, and thanks for inviting everybody else. Mark, I love that Matthew put up here post-COVID and a question mark, because Matthew, I was just about to go down this avenue. Is that are we post-COVID? Are we coming out? Who the heck knows, right? I mean, people are all over the map, and who knows what's going to happen with these variants. And where I was going to go with that is that I have some clients who are starting to believe that this is over and want to go back to in-person selling. I am cautioning against that. If you can get in person, great for you, and do it. But do not stop honing your virtual sales skills. You need them. We don't know. It may not even be COVID. It may be something else, but virtual is here to stay. So you need to get good at that. And I love that you put that up there, because it is just so true. I mean, in the larger companies that I work with, they were really thinking about maybe in the fall allowing people to start traveling again, allowing some in-person stuff. Now it looks like they're going to push that possibly to 2022. So you have to continue to get good at this type of interaction, and continue to get good at changing on a dime. Again, something that we're going to talk about in the mastermind. And Marcia, so glad that answer helped you, and really appreciate you and everybody weighing in with questions. I think this show is so much better when it is answering your questions and your issues around sales.
There's something also that we need to keep in mind. You got to schedule meetings close in. Don't sit there and schedule meetings 2, 3, 4 weeks out, because again, things are changing. When I'm scheduling a potential client call, potential sales call, I'm scheduling it for immediately the next day or 2 days later. And even if I got to jump on an airplane, you got to keep things close in, because again, with things changing out there, the last thing you want to do is say, oh, well, we'll get together 3, 4 weeks from now in person. And then again, like you said, things change. Now I got to pivot. So I want to make things happen right now. Hey, we need to jump into the lightning round. Lightning round today is what I've learned in the first half of 2021. I can't believe the first half is already over. So, hey, go.
I can't believe. What I've learned in the first half of 2021 is that customers are making decisions much closer to the time that they need to pull the trigger. It may take longer to get a hold of them. It may take longer to get the conversation. But once I get in that door, we're basically at go time. So I need to be prepared to pull the trigger and go.
First mover is worth something. If you can be the first one to arrive on the scene, to be able the first one to make the sales call, there is additional business to be had for you. But make sure you're doing that following all the protocols of both your company and the client you're visiting.
Yeah, is that I've also learned that customers will only give time to salespeople who are relevant. People are busy. They've got a lot on their plates. They thought 2020 was a lot to try to figure out. 2021 is proving to be more complicated. So if you don't have a value proposition smack up front that makes it worth their time, they're not going to let you in the door.
Cell phone, cell phone, cell phone. Landlines, office lines have gone away completely. Do not hesitate in the least bit to call somebody's cell phone. Just be mindful of the time zone you're calling into, because you really don't want to be that 5 a.m. wake-up call for somebody in Pacific Daylight Time.
Yeah. With that is that text is becoming acceptable. If you have permission to do it, that a lot of prospects and customers prefer to interact through text. And I'm going to add the fact that the calendar scheduler is a must, is that people expect you to send them a link to get on their calendar now, to be able to easily access your calendar.
Speed up your cadence. You may have had a 60-day cadence before. It's going to be a 30-day cadence now. What do I mean by that? From a prospecting standpoint, decisions are being made fast. Decisions are being made now. And attention spans are even shorter than they've ever been before.
Yeah, video is the best way to showcase your energy and to differentiate yourself, both from using the vidyards and the bombs to actually getting on a Zoom call to make the sales presentation. The better that you are at the video piece of this, one of the biggest pieces you'll have to differentiate yourself in the marketplace.
Don't sit there and schedule that meeting 2-3 weeks out. Schedule it as close in as possible. Why don't you share one more? I'll share one more, and we'll close it down.
We are long past the 9 to 5 sales call. In today's environment, with most people still working from home, they are very open to an evening call, a weekend call, or a very early morning call. Be the type of salesperson that is accessible to when your customer wants you to be accessible.
make sure you're still using the phone. People are saying people are picking up the phone less than ever right now. I find the phone working better than ever because when I do reach somebody, the conversations are deeper and richer. They're much more. Hey, we want to say thank you for listening to Sales Logic this week. If you like what you hear, subscribe, rate, and review the show on your favorite podcast app. If something we've said has earned you a single dollar, consider telling a friend about our show. It's how we grow to help you grow. I'm Mark Hunter.
And I'm Meridith Elliott Powell.
Remember, when you sell with confidence and integrity,
uncertainty suddenly becomes your competitive advantage.
And the sale becomes logical, but only if you join the Sales Logic Mastermind. Jump over there to saleslogicpodcast.com and get enrolled right now.
Yeah, we will see you. This is an unbelievable deal. Together, we're going to work and really build our sales strategies in the last 6 months of this year, not only closing 2021 off strong, but kicking 2022 off incredibly powerful. So we will see you here next week, 9 o'clock Eastern, for another episode of Sales Logic, and hope to see you in the mastermind as well. Have a great week. And don't forget, if you have questions, please share those questions. We love highlighting them here. Have a great week and sell effectively, and we'll see you next Saturday.